Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the Sustainability Alarm Clock. Our hosts in this week's podcast are a group of fourth year students from Trinity College Dublin who are here to share their insights on sustainable consumption based on a very interesting report that they wrote on this topic. So please welcome Celine and Tina. Thank you so much for coming today, guys. This is definitely a very exciting topic to be talking about nowadays.
Thank you so much for having us. We are happy to be here.
So recently, sustainability has been playing an increasingly important role in our lives. So concerns about the future of our planet are more real than ever. And there is clearly a need for a shift in behaviors and attitudes towards this particular topic, especially starting from the younger generations. More and more consumers engage in sustainable actions, such as recycling, using eco-friendly products, and trying to lower their environmental impact in general. So in your report, guys, you explore sustainability trends and you focus on different kinds of green consumers. Can you just give us a quick overview of the different green consumers that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are so many different frameworks you can use to identify different green consumers. But we found the Roper organization's framework to be the most theoretically sound framework to understand green consumers. It breaks consumers into 5 key groups, from those who are the most green to those who are not very green at all. So firstly, there are the true blue greens. They're the most environmentally conscious consumers who believe that their actions can have a dramatic impact on the environment. They are also less price sensitive and are involved in ecological activities, so protesting, veganism, zero waste, all that kind of lifestyle. Then there are the greenback spreads. They're likely to buy green products, but do not engage in environmental activities in the way that the true blue greens do. They're interested in maintaining their lifestyles and are more price sensitive. Then we have the middle of the road, group number 3. These are the spreads who support environmental issues, but it's not a big part of their life. Followed by this group are the grousers. They do not believe that they have the ability to tackle environmental issues, and they are unlikely to spend more money on sustainable products. And then finally, you've got the 5th group, and they're called the basic browns. They believe that no organization or individual can solve ecological problems. Sustainability does not influence their purchase process at any stage. So this framework is good because it looks at the connection between values and lifestyles and how that can affect consumption patterns. Also, it takes into account those who don't care for the environment, which many other frameworks fail to do.
Thank you. That was really insightful. It looks like there are so many different types of consumers engaging with green consumption. Despite consumers' willingness to lower their environmental impact through green consumption, it seems like there are still some barriers that prevent a high number of consumers to do so. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. There is still a considerable percentage of people who do not engage with sustainable consumption at all. We focus primarily on millennials in our paper.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a really interesting segment to be looking at since they'll be the most influential generation in terms of consumption in the next few decades. Are there any particular reasons why this seems to be happening?
Yeah, I would say that's because there are 4 main barriers, 4 main reasons. So the first barrier is price. Millennials simply identify green products as too expensive. Eco products tend to carry a price premium of between 20 to 25%. The second barrier is the inability to differentiate between green and non-green products. For example, think of all the ways that eggs are labeled. There's your standard free range, cage-free, whole grain fed, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, and grass-fed, bearing in mind that a chicken cannot survive on grass alone. So there are too many labels, so it's hard to know what's genuine and what's not. Then the third barrier is that there's a lack of trust in green products. Lots of marketers have greenwashed products to the point that consumers are just increasingly skeptical and cynical when a company claims it's eco-friendly. Just look at the fallout of the Volkswagen scandal. Then the fourth barrier is that there's a perception that eco-friendly products are of lower or inferior quality than its alternatives. A really good example of this is when it comes to liquid hand sanitizer. During the height of the pandemic, people were looking for Purell, not eco-friendly sanitization.
These are some really interesting insights, thank you. These barriers definitely set some challenges for the future of sustainable consumption. It's interesting to see how, especially like a lack of trust towards companies that make green claims still has such a huge influence on green consumers' purchasing behavior. How are marketers responding to this then? Are there any particular trends or tools that could help overcome these barriers?
Yeah, so the challenges faced by the marketeers are quite unique. Consumers are actively searching for sustainable products, but often are suspicious and do not trust green products. So, of course, understanding the internal psychological factors influencing this consumer behavior is important. So, customer-centric approach and understanding what each of the customers identified by the Ropers organization framework want is essential. So, answering questions like why they identify as pro-sustainability, what sacrifices they are willing to make, and what sustainability product means to them. But there are particular trends that are helpful that would be focusing on community, accessible pricing, longevity, and clarity. So with emphasizing community, it's helpful to target the anti-consumptionists. Marketeers do this by collaborative consumption opportunities, as we see with companies like Airbnb, Rent the Runway, or even Patagonia and their platform for their customers to resell Patagonia's clothing on their website, or even connecting them with various environmental initiatives. This model gives consumers the feeling of being part of the community and enhances the overall experience of brand loyalty. As it was mentioned earlier, green products can often come at a premium price, but the costs, they also come with hidden advantages. So showing how a product will save the consumer time and money because they won't have to replace the product as often or maybe even at all is a good way to approach the true blue greens. Patagonia's program of free repairing or refurbishing of one's old or damaged clothing is a great example. People buy their product knowing it can last for life, which is also capitalizing on longevity. Also, alternative payment options allowing to spread payments over time, such as Flexify, PayFlexi, or Afterpay, are becoming more and more popular. Or even grants or tax initiatives, as it is, for example, with marketing electronic vehicles in Scandinavia.
Thank you so much for your insights on this topic, guys. There is a clear need for more sustainable consumption to become more embedded in our consumer behavior and in our everyday lives in general. Luckily, green consumption and attention to sustainability in general have gained more attention in the recent past and will continue to do so. This is vital to fight overconsumption and waste of natural resources in order to safeguard the future of our planet. On the bright side, we can conclude that sustainable consumption is not just a temporary trend, but it is indeed the future of consumption in our society.
Absolutely. Sustainable consumption is not just a trend, but it's the future of consumption. We really identified this in our report. Indeed, it must be the future of consumption if we want to preserve our planet. There is a moral responsibility placed on consumers, companies, and marketeers who need to promote these behaviors overall.
Yeah, that's definitely very true. Well, thank you so much to the both of you, and I hope our audience enjoyed this week's podcast. Please feel free to pop any questions in the chat or text us any questions you have, and we'll be happy to reply in next week's podcast. Have a great day. Bye.